Brought to you by PrayLatin.com, makers of prayer cards featuring complete English phonetic renderings of Latin pronunciations. I know many of you are skeptical naturally of any purported miracle associated with the current state of the church, with the current hierarchy, with the post-conciliar order, any of it. Some of you expressed that with the purported miracle of the incorrupt nun that I reported on here a month or two ago. That made waves across the Catholic world in general. And today we have another miracle that's being reported. This one happened at World Youth Day. And I'm choosing to cover this, not only because this is an interesting story in and of itself, but also because traditionalists like myself, and myself included, have been very, very critical of World Youth Day. While we, all of us virtually, have admitted that many people who go there go to World Youth Day in good faith. They go there for spiritual reasons and not to party. We've been critical of World Youth Day because, well, sacrileges like this image you see here of, well, those are plastic crates holding consecrated hosts of the Eucharist. Yes, the body, blood, soul, and divinity of our Lord Jesus Christ is stored like so much packing paper. The people who went there, who saw it, you saw pictures of people praying in front of it. Those were people who are actually on Twitter, who have been saying quite a lot about this on Twitter, who were moved by sorrow to see how our Blessed Lord is treated at World Youth Day, to do prayers of reparation in front of it, and good for them. Good on them. Many of us have been critical of World Youth Day for countless examples of this. All you have to do is watch like half my videos from the last 2 weeks, and you'll see why we've been so critical. But in fairness, and because this is just an interesting story, any miracle that looks like it's being verified is worth covering. So, good can come from World Youth Day, obviously. So we get this story from the National Catholic Register with a headline, Miracle at Fatima. World Youth Day pilgrim receives her sight after communion at Mass. On the morning of August 5th, when the Holy Father was also praying the Rosary at the Fatima Shrine, Jimena, who is 16 years old and from Spain, received what she herself describes as a great gift from the Virgin Mary. A young woman who is 95% legally blind had her sight restored on the morning of August 5th, the feast of Our Lady of the Snows, as we will go over in this when we go look at this article. A couple things to note. Francis was himself praying the Rosary there. We've seen him do this before, of course, and it's a good sign. I will not give him any negative criticism for praying the Rosary at the Fatima Shrine. Sorry, I'm not going to go there. And if you can, offer a prayer of thanksgiving in the form of an Ave Maria, in the form of a Hail Mary, for this great gift of this young woman's sight being returned. And I really hope if you are the kind of person who likes to come into my comment section and periodically say, come out of her, my people, the Catholic Church is false, you should go join Uncle Bob's Pastoral Ministry Center Bible Church, located here on the corner in the strip mall next to the 7-Eleven, where the one true faith is actually found. If you're that kind of person, please keep it to yourself today, okay? I have zero tolerance for that stuff, and especially with stories like this. So let's go to the article. Quote, I opened my eyes and I could see perfectly, said Jimena, a 16-year-old Spanish World Youth Day pilgrim who said she miraculously recovered her sight after receiving the Eucharist at Fatima, Portugal, during a Mass there. This possible miracle has moved hearts and filled with hope all those who have been following the events at World Youth Day, which brought together more than 1 million young people in the Portuguese capital last week. Jimena traveled to Lisbon from Madrid with a group from Opus Dei. During the days prior, relatives and acquaintances of the young woman organized a novena to pray to Our Lady of the Snows, whose feast day is commemorated August 5th, the same day she recovered her sight. For 2.5 years, Jimena has suffered a loss of sight due to a myopia problem that left her with a 95% vision loss. On the morning of August 5th, when the Holy Father was also praying the Rosary at the Fatima Shrine, Jimena received what she herself describes as a, quote, great gift from the Virgin Mary. Not long after recovering her sight, Jimena told the Spanish radio station COPE that she woke up that morning, quote, as I have been getting up for 2.5 years, seeing super blurry very badly. She explained that she had gone to Mass with her friends. Quote, because we are at World Youth Day and after receiving communion, I began to cry a lot because it was the last day of the novena and I wanted to be cured and I had very much asked God, please cure me. When I opened my eyes, I could see perfectly, the young woman continued. It was overwhelming. Very many thanks must be given for the miracle, because I saw the altar, the tabernacle, my girlfriends were there, and I could see them perfectly. In addition, she said that she was quite able to read the novena prayer that she was praying and that she still reads quite well. She hadn't forgotten at all how to read. The young woman said she is super happy and thanked all those who were part of the prayer group. This has been a test of faith. The Virgin Mary has given me a great gift that I will not forget, she said. End quote. We'll get back to the story in a minute. This is wonderful news. Do you have any reason to doubt her story, the veracity of her story? I'm sure there are some who will not trust anything that comes out of Rome, that comes out of the Vatican these days, and will, say this is a fabricated story. I hope not. I would hope that we aren't so distrusting of things that we cannot simply give a prayer of thanksgiving today for this great gift that this young woman has received. Miracles like this are to remind us that God is there, that He is the author of miracles, the author of life, that He will, if you put your trust in Him, answer your prayers if they fit into His will. The reason she was given her faith back, but her eyesight back, was because not only did He give her, of course, the gift of faith or a gift of eyesight, but rather for us to have our faith reinforced. Remember, miracles, Eucharistic miracles, any of these kind of miracles, they are signs, and the signs are not for those necessarily with faith. They're there for those of us who may have a weakness of faith, to have our faith reinforced, or to spark the desire for the faith for those observing who don't have it. And if you are one of those who don't have the faith, but you are moved by this, there is no shame. In fact, I highly recommend you do so. You offer a prayer for the great gift of faith from God. And you do so every day. Take you less than a minute to do every single day. And if you earnestly ask for the gift of faith, He may just answer that prayer and give you the gift of faith, which is itself a miracle. Most miracles in our time, in our lives, are unnoticed by us, or they are not of the kind that make news headlines. But this is one of those. A young woman's life was transformed by a purported miracle. And I say purported, not to cast doubt on it, because presumably diocesan officials and officials from Rome will come and look at the miracle and see if there is a legitimate reason why, when she started praying, she was 95% blind, and after she completed her prayer and having received communion and making her request of God at the end of her novena, her eyesight was restored. Remember, they always look for a plausible scientific explanation for these things. And if they can find one, then it will not be confirmed as a miracle, although it's a heck of a coincidence if it's not a miracle, if it's just some plausible scientific explanation, which I can't even say with a straight face. Let's get back to the story. Here we have the response from the local ordinary. Quote, in an August 6th statement at ACI Prensa, CNA's Spanish-language news partner, Cardinal Juan José Omea, the Archbishop of Barcelona and president of the Spanish Bishops' Conference, referred to the possible miracle as a, quote, grace from God during the press conference at the end of World Youth Day held at Eduardo VII Park in Lisbon. The Cardinal said he was able to speak with Jimena on a video call and that she explained what happened in a natural and unaffected manner. The girl was very excited. She had been blind for a while, and she had been learning the Braille method for 2 or 3 years, he said. The prelate also noted that after receiving communion, the teen was able to, quote, read the prayer of thanksgiving at Mass that day with the Madrid group without any problems. The young woman also told the Cardinal that they had been praying for 9 days asking the Virgin for her healing. Cardinal Omea encouraged the faithful to, quote, give thanks to God and explained that, quote, this doesn't lead to the cause of beatification for anyone because the Virgin is already a saint, but it is indeed a grace from God. He pointed out that, quote, then the doctors will have to assess it, what it was like, if it existed, if it could be cured or not. But for now, for the girl, that has been a major event, let's say a miracle. She didn't see, and now she sees. Now the doctors will be able to say the rest, but she has gone home seeing. Well, she sees, blessed be God. Cardinal Omea said he was, quote, really struck by other testimonies that took place during World Youth Day from young people who, quote, have also received or recovered their interior vision, end quote. I will remind everybody who shares my opinions that are generally negative about World Youth Day that, yes, good things do happen at World Youth Day. There are people who go and have their faith enlivened. Over on Twitter, Matt Gaspers, the editor-in-chief of Catholic Family News, shared his story about how it was at going to World Youth Day as a young man that he had his faith enlivened. He, of course, found, shifted over to traditional Catholicism himself, but good things do come out of these events. It's just that the really bizarre things we've seen this time around have overshadowed everything, cast a negative pall on everything. Again, pictures like this, of this grotesque mistreatment of our Lord, and the countless hosts left on the ground, found on the ground after that mass, as well as the DJ priest and everything else that I've covered for you this week. Those stories are challenging, and I still maintain that World Youth Day is not something I would endorse keeping, despite the fact that, for example, Francis announced at the close of World Youth Day that the next World Youth Day has already been planned, and it's going to happen in 2027 in Seoul, South Korea, a country with a relatively small but growing and vibrant Catholic population. And will good things come of it? I hope so. I would assume so, that you tend to hear these stories every World Youth Day. But at the same time, I do shudder to think what the modernists will do with World Youth Day once again when they get there, when they have the ability to treat our Lord so flippantly like they have been. I'm curious what you think of the story, though. Please say a prayer of thanksgiving for the miracle this young woman received. Even if the medical doctors say, well, it's not a miracle because X, Y, and Z suspiciously shaky reasons. She began her prayer not being able to see. And at the end of the prayer, she was able to see. That'd be a strange coincidence if it was a coincidence, folks. And I don't believe in coincidences when it comes to non-essential things, especially like miraculous healings. So let me know what you thought of this in the comments. Please hit like and subscribe if you haven't. It does help. So does sharing this on social media. That helps a lot too. And as always, pray for the church. I'm Anthony Stine. Ave Maria.